I'm sure everyone's familiar with the Associated Press. Basically, what it is someone writes a news story and it gets put forth, like the copy or whatever you call it. I don't know. I'm not in the news. But it gets forwarded to all these news channels, all across the country, at least here in America. And then what happens is reporters and journalists use the material from the AP Press story and they stop fact checking it over time. And so what happens is sometimes misinformation gets spread because they don't check the facts on something. They just accept it. The AP Press said it, well, it must be true, instead of verifying the facts on it. And that just put me in mind of this problem that I'm seeing with the ISFP and the INTJ. And what I think, and I'm especially noticing it with people with typing, is that there are ISFPs being put forth as INTJs, and they're getting accepted more and more, and people aren't fact checking anymore. It's like they've just accepted them now as an INTJ, and then they're being used to compare and see if other people are INTJs. So they're being used like to be held up against someone else and say, is this an INTJ? And so we just did a typing video on an ISFP, Maynard James Keenan of the band Tool, and he is typed overwhelmingly as an INTJ. And I'm seeing this more and more. And there's so many people out there, quite a few that I've seen, that are ISFPs masquerading around as INTJs.
Yep.
And I think people are accepting it and say, oh, this is what an INTJ looks like. And I think what they're basing it off of is what an INTJ stereotypically is. So robotic, monotone, FI, in the sense that they don't care what other people think of them.
Yes, attitude or something.
Yeah, maybe attitude, or even like cerebral in a sense.
Yeah, like an ISFP of a certain level of intelligence. Therefore, all these stereotypes in that particular manifestation of ISFP with the intelligence, and that means they're INTJ, because apparently INTJs all have to be intelligent.
Right.
I don't know where people get that logic from. It's like, right, all people aren't intelligent. Not all people are intelligent, but all INTJs are. What?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, so it's almost like they see someone who's intelligent, speaks in a monotone sort of way, doesn't seem to care what other people think, and then they must be INTJ. The problem here is that, and I said this in the Maynard James Keenan video, but ISFPs manifest all over the place, depending on the emotion that they're feeling at the time. So if an ISFP is in that sort of mood, that people can look at them and say, oh, this is this stereotypical INTJ, when that's not the case. So like Maynard James Keenan, people look at him and say he's kind of, what was that comment you just read? That was at the bottom of that interview. Do you remember what it said?
I'll find it.
Because I know in some other interviews, like he's been called cerebral.
Yeah, so just a few comments on that video. He's so pleased with himself. I don't think Maynard ever gives straight answers. It makes people confused and uncomfortable, but you can tell that he loves it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love Maynard. He can make being a smartass look so effortless.
And just in those comments, you can see that people would read that, and that's like a stereotype of an INTJ, not necessarily reality. What people think INTJs must be like versus what they're really like in person.
I suppose like the 16personalities.com INTJ page, that's the AP, the Associated Press, right?
Yeah.
So everyone reads it and they think, wow, they're intuitive, the mastermind, they're way ahead of everyone else. They don't care what people think. They're brutally honest. And like there's truth to it, but like the way people imagine it is, what they do is they grab the first thing that they're familiar with that fits that, which is often ISFP, that certain manifestation of the ISFP, and then they say, yeah, of course, because you know what? They don't know an INTJ. because we're really rare.
What I see out there is a lot of like ISFPs who want to be taken seriously because I think there is this deep-seated insecurity in them.
Right. Yeah.
Because, let's be honest, it's difficult to be a feeler man in the
Yeah.
world. And so there's this defensiveness always. And I think that's why you see in them such a put on. It's a try hard, if you will, of like this show of like masculinity and a show like over the top. We call it posturing because that's kind of what it is.
Yes, there's two
It's,
types really that kind of drive us nuts in certain manifestations
yes,
because of the way they posture, and ESTP can be one of them. ISFP is the other one. And it both come from this insecurity, the ESTP in certain manifestations, hashtag not all. They're insecure and they they want to be the big man, and they're at the gym and
yeah,
they're the ones that are grunting and showing off, and they want people to notice them for being that hard man or whatever. And the ISFP is very similar to that. They're the guys that, in some manifestations, walk into the room, they walk in like with this sort of swagger, and it's like, and you look at it and you think, that guy can't be serious because he
yeah,
swaggers like, you swagger into a room really cool, right? But they don't do that. They like exaggerate that by like times
yes,
5. So they're like
yes,
swinging about like when they come into the room, and yeah, that's a very ISFP thing of a particular manifestation in a
right.
particular sort of maybe working class. I don't know, what would you call it? Blue collar or white collar?
Blue collar, yeah.
Yeah, that sort of. I mean, you've seen it. You've definitely seen it. If you're a conscious being, you've seen it. They
Right.
look at the building sites, and they're walking along, and it's funny.
Well, it's just, I think everything they do is dramatic. It's over the top.
Yes, right.
I've seen them even when they want to shake your hand. I've
Yeah,
seen people make fun because they like take their arm and like swing it way out and then bring it in to shake their hand. It's like everything has this like dramatic feel to it, flavor, every single thing. I guess I just want to encourage people. Don't accept the AP press version of what people keep saying. Oh, this is INTJ, this is INTJ. Maybe want to think about it. And that's the whole reason that we're doing this channel, because it's so important to make comparisons. You can't just like type someone in a vacuum. It's good to look at a bunch of different examples and see, how are these people the same or how are they different?
if you type in a vacuum, you're going to come up with hundreds of types. The circumstantial dictates the manifestation
Right.
of one of the 16 types.
And I think that's how people get themselves into typing trouble. They type in a vacuum. They look at certain criteria instead of sort of seeing the big picture of it. I do see this as becoming more and more of a problem, as certain types are being put forth as others and they're not.